Shalom, Israel. Give honor to the Most High and say, how shall we are the Battle Axes coming into another Wednesday night class to get edified in the Most High God's name. We always give praise on the glory to our Maker for giving us to allow us to be here, man. It's always a great day when you see the day. Because, you know, the death angels out there working, man, each and every day, man. People losing their lives, man, losing their fight in this battle. This battle versus spirit versus flesh. So we want to make sure that every time and chance we get to uplift our spirit, that we get into this Bible, get classes, push these classes out to the four corners of the earth, that brothers and sisters may uplift their spiritual knowledge. Tonight's class will be going into which servant are ye? Which servant are ye? Big shout out to all my battle axes around the four corners of the earth, man, the globe, man. Brother Yaakov, Capt, Officer Yaakov, Memphis. We got Brother Ram in the soul. We got a lot of battle axes around the globe, man. Shout out to brothers pushing this truth and sincerity, no matter what color you wearing. All right, if you friends up keeping the commandments of the Most High God, pushing this truth and sincerity, man. Hey, big shout out to you, brother, man. As well as the sisters that's being submissive, humble, housewives, you know, modestly dressed, being a true light to the world. This is what the world of Israel needs to see. They need to see us changing so that they may do the same things we do. Right, the rehearsal of the righteous acts. Like we said tonight's class, which servant are ye? We got to pick and choose a side in this battle. We'll start out with Revelation chapter 3. Start at verse 15. Revelation chapter 3, verse 15.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 3, and verse number 15.
Bring it up.
I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot.
Now, this is going into one of the seven churches. This is Laodicea. But the Father's telling them, I know your works. The church is going into what? Going into the camp, right? He said, I know your works. We cannot hide from the Most High God. He knows our works. He knows if our works are intentionally good. He knows if our works are predominantly bad, mostly good, mostly bad. If they are just for show, right? If it's just to get into the next new thing, he knows all of our works, right? Read on.
I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot.
He said this is one of the problems with Laodicea, that they were not picking a side. They were trying to straddle the fence, as we'll say, right? They weren't cold and they were not hot, right? Read on.
So then, because thou art lukewarm.
Because thou art what?
Because thou art lukewarm.
Because the Most High God wants you to be either cold or hot. He wants you to be for him or against him. Ain't no in-betweens in this thing, right? Most people, they like coffee. They like their coffee either hot or they like it cold, right? There ain't no in-between one. You know, you might have some people that want to lukewarm, but the Father don't want you lukewarm. No matter. Them people right there, hey, that's coffee. We talking about the King of Kings. We talking about our Master, our Creator. And he does not want you to be lukewarm. He wants you to be all the way in, or damn it, be all the way out, right? Read on.
And neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth.
So the Father say he don't like that lukewarm stuff. He don't like that warm stuff. You either go before him, hot for this truth, right? Or you gonna go on and do your thing, man. He gonna spew you out, right? The Father saying that you gotta pick and choose a side, man. Tonight's class is which servant are you, man? What side are you gonna choose, right? Read on.
Verse 17. Because thou sayest, I am rich and increase with goods, and have need of nothing, and knowest not that thou art wretched.
Knowest that thou art what?
Knowest not that thou art wretched.
He said, you don't know that you are wretched, man. That's right. That's what a lot of people going on. They don't know what servant they are, right? Hopefully we can sum up and get an understanding of what servant we actually are with this class tonight. Because he said they don't know that they are wretched. Wretched going into what? Sinners, man. Wicked. A lot of people think that they out here on the straight and narrow, right? When they really on the damn curve and bunker. Right? They think they're doing exactly what the Father wants them to do. But they have no idea what their God wants. So he said he know that they are wretched. We don't know that we wretched, right? Read on.
And miserable.
And what?
And miserable.
Read on.
And poor.
And poor and what?
And blind.
Hold on. People think that they seeing that.
Right.
People think they rich, they doing well, right? Negro, you still part of the poor. No matter what, how many M's you making, how many zeros you got behind you still part of the poor, right? Because Israel is that poor, right? Blind, because a lot of people swear they see every day. But in reality, they are blind, man. Blind leaders of the blind, man, right? These church pastors leading our people that's already blinded to a deeper ditch. And naked, right? And in sin, man. And in sin. So we don't see these things, but you gotta be able to see these things. This is where spiritual discernment comes to play, man. Spiritual discernment is heavy, man. It's real key in our walk, man. Because you gotta be able to discern who the hell you are. Right. What the Bible say? Know ye not your own self? Right. A lot of people don't know their own self. They hear one day, oh, they up, they down. They left one day, they right. Oh, I'm here, I'm up, I'm down, I'm left, right. You don't even know your own self, man. So we need to be able to understand and know who we are, which servant we are, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 30 and 19. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19. Just some key precepts, well-known precepts about picking your side, man. Read this.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30 and verse 19.
Read.
I'll call heaven and earth to record this day against you.
So the Bible is recording us. We have angels recording our everyday walk daily. This day, every day you see this Bible, this day is every day. Read.
That I have set before you, life and death.
So when you want to know which servant are you need to know that what side you choosing, right? He said, I said before you, life and death. People love to say they got free will. You got two choices. You got life or death, right? You got the commandments or you got wicked, right? Or not, as they like to say, right? Read on.
Blessing and cursing.
You either on the blessing side or you on the cursing side. And a lot of people don't get this, man, because they say, well, if y'all keep the commandments and y'all still going through problems and situations, right? How are y'all on the blessing side? Because the Father said that he was going to chastise Israel, right? They don't understand it. They don't see that. Yeah, we still getting our butt whooped too. But the end game ends in a blessing. See, they worried about the now game. We worried about the end game. See, we doing these rehearsals right now to get to that end game. Right? Read on.
Therefore, choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live.
So the Bible gives you an open book test. The Bible tells you, you have life or death. Negro, you need to choose life. It's telling you what to do. And people still don't choose life. I'll be seeing this video on TikTok. And the mama asked the boy, Johnny got 2 apples and you got 2 apples and Johnny give you 3 apples. How many apples you got? He was like 45. She was like, what? She's like, hell nah. She started trying to slap the daddy. Said, hold on, I got it. He said, son, answer 5. Right. He said, you hear me, son? Answer 5. He said, if you got 2 apples and Johnny give you 3 apples, how many apples you got? He said, 15. Lord, the answer 5, son. This is what the Most High doing right to you right now. The answer is live. Keep the commandment. Right? So we have opportunity and thankful that the Most High is merciful enough to give us this opportunity to choose life. Right? Read on.
Verse 20. That thou mayest love the Lord thy God, and that thou mayest obey his voice, and that thou mayest cleave unto him, for he is thy life, and the length of thy days, that thou mayest dwell in the land which the Lord sware unto thy
Lord did what?
Which the Lord sware unto thy father.
The land that he sware unto his fathers, man. You think the Most High God gonna go back on his swear, man? Hell no, man. That's love right there, man. Read on.
To Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give them.
So we want to know and make sure what servant we are, because he swear to those good servants. We know that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were part of the good servants, right? We can go back and look at Hebrews or now James 5 and 10 and say, go back and look at your example, the prophets. And we can go back and look and see Abraham kept the commandments, right? Isaac was faithful, right? Moses did his thing, man. Right? Jacob. So we know what kind of servants they were through the scriptures. Now it's up to us to live our life through that same looking glass, right? So that we may receive that heirship that we are promised to receive. The Father said he swear by it, right? Let's go to turn the page. Let's go to Joshua 24. So the servants that we need to be are the ones, like it said, obeying his voice, right? Cleaving unto him, right? We need to obey the Father's voice and cleave into the Father. Those are the servants that we need to be. Joshua 24 or 15, I think.
God. What's our question? 15.
Let me start at 14.
All right, come. The book of Joshua, chapter 24, verse 14. Now, therefore, fear the Lord.
This is the servant that we want to be. This is choosing a side, right? Fear the Lord. We know the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, right? Read.
And serve him in sincerity and in truth.
That's what we always say. Honest to brothers, just pushing this truth and sincerity and truth, man. Is it really sincere to your heart? Are you really looking to see the nation of Israel succeed, man? Damn it. Or do you have that same aspect like Moses, who couldn't see the promised land, but still charged Joshua and gave him everything that he knew, man, for the nation, right? Are you about that life, or you just playing, man? And sincerity and truth, these are the servants that we need to be. Read.
And put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood.
And that's what we have to do. That's why the class tonight is what servant are you? Because either you go serve the father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or you go serve what? The God of this world, Esau, and all his wonderful blessings that he gives us each and every day, right? Our jobs, serving our jobs, serving our money, serving our women, our wives, serving our children, right? You say you need to put away those gods, man. This is what we need to do. Choose a side. Read.
And in Egypt, and serve ye the Lord.
Read.
Verse 15. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve.
You need to make a choice, Israel. Sister, brother, child. You need to make a choice, man. Because you cannot straddle the fence like we said in Revelation. You can play this game if you want to, man. You can come here each Sabbath. Shalom, brother. Shalom, sister. Hey, my brother. Hey, you can come in here and play that game if you want to, but you better choose a side, man. Because that second death ain't no joke, man. You can play all you want to a thing where ain't nobody gonna see. The Father seeing everything. Right? So it said if it seems evil to you, well then damn it, choose a side. And that's what a lot of people do in this world, man. They choose a side. They think that the Israelites out there, we out there bashing them, but we tell them we the greatest thing. They choosing a side. Because guess what? Brother really wants, he really still want to smoke that cigarette. He still want to hold out them sisters. He still want to be a adulterer. He still want to do what he want to do. So the Bible said we choose a side, right? Read 15 again.
15 from the top. And if it seems evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve.
Choose you this day. Every day you wake up, you have a choice to choose the Father or choose wickedness, right? It's every day. That's your fight every day. What? Good is set against evil, right? Right? The spirit is against the flesh, right? Every day you have an option to choose, and you gotta choose. Ain't no, well, I ain't gonna choose today. I'm just gonna stay in the middle. Revelation said what? He don't like lukewarm. He don't want you in the middle.
That's right.
So every day that you live life, you gotta choose a side each and every day, right? And if you choosing the right side, then your actions will show up in your everyday life. What side you really choosing, man? Right? Sometimes we seem to fall back into those ways. That's because that day, that minute, that hour, that second, you didn't choose the Father. You chose to be that servant of sin and not that servant of righteousness, right? And we can't play that, right? The Father said, break on these least commandments, man. We got to keep that in our head. We want to try to be on that straight and narrow as much as we can, man. Read on.
Choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell.
Right, either you go serve what? Egypt, right? When we came out of Egypt, what they do? Murmur and complain, right? Brought us in the wilderness to kill us. That's just what we do, man. So you go serve on the Egypt captivity being in bondage. So well, it's not that bad in America, right? We got jobs now, right? We got our own houses now, right? We can go where we want to go, right? Right. We don't got shackles and chains on us no more, right? We think that's okay. But if we only knew that this world was ours, man, that we were the king, that we were the head and they were the tail, then we would look at it a little different. Like Jerubbaal always say, I'm gonna give you a big part of this job. I'm gonna give you 40% of this job. Nigga, the job is mine. What is you talking about? But to somebody else out there in the world, oh, mama, you say you gonna give me 40%.
Right.
That's good to some of us, but then we want it all. We want it back, man. Right? Read.
But as for me and my house,
read that again.
But for me and my house,
this is something that we need to put, man, on our wall in our house, right? Right. In our Bible, our damn what's that thing when you what's that thing when you bookmark? Yeah. I'm talking about anywhere when you see this. You know, you got a board at the house, man. But me and my house, what we gonna do?
But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
And that's how we gotta look at this thing each and every day. Which servant are you? Right? Because we can't serve the Lord Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then Thursday, Friday, we serve the servants of unrighteousness. And we come back Sabbath class and we servants of righteousness again, right? That don't work for us. So, like Joshua said, as for me and my house, you can play the game if you want to, right? But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Let's get one more before we get into class. Ecclesiastes 33 and 14. Ecclesiasticus.
Iraq, I was say, man, it ain't no 33.
Ecclesiasticus. I'm sorry, y'all.
Nah, I got you.
I don't never say Ecclesiasticus. I always say Sirach. I don't know when I was looking at it. I just said Ecclesiastes.
33 and
Sirach 33 and 14. It's all about choosing, man. Choose ye this day, right?
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 13 and verse 14.
Sirach 33.
That's a lot here, y'all, because I'm looking at 33. I'm tripping.
Yeah, I know it.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 33 and verse number 14.
Look at that.
Good is set against evil, and life against death.
Read on.
So is the godly against the sinner, and the sinner against the godly.
So you got two sides, good or evil, right? Ain't no in between. We have to go by the scriptures. Scriptures say what they say. You either part of the solution or you what? Part of the problem. Ain't no way around it. You either all in or what? All out, right? And I know brother who's gambling, man, they go push all them shits up all in, right? Or you see somebody look like they got a good poker face there, now I'm all out. Give me all right? You need to be all in or all out for the Father, right? Because good is set against evil, man. That servant of sin is set up against that servant of righteousness, man. And just because they Israel don't mean that they want you to make it. We tell people that each and every day, man. They might be a servant of sin, right? They might play the game with you. Yeah, I'm listening, bro. Yeah, that sounds interesting. But deep down inside, they don't give a damn, right? They don't care. They don't give two what they say else. Then they really don't. So good is set against evil, man. The godly is against the sinner, man. You got to be part of. You got to be what part of you? What servant are you gonna be? Read 15,
verse 15. So look upon all the works of the Most High.
Some of them.
So look upon all the works of the Most High.
Every work of the Most High has two sides. Every work of the Most High has two sides.
Right.
No in between. Ain't no 2.5. Ain't no 16 parts. Right. Ain't no 1 3/8. Ain't no 3 3/4. Every work of the Father has two sides. Read.
And there are 2 and 2.
2 and 2. Right. Meaning if it's 2 on the right, then there's 2 on the left. Read.
Right. And there are 2 and 2. One against another.
One against another. So like you said, tonight's class, which servant are you? Because either you're going to be the servant of sin or you're going to be the servant of righteousness. And guess what? They don't mix.
Right.
They bump heads. They collide. Right? Let's go to John. John 8. I know I can brought this class out of here. Brother talking about this out, man. The other day, you look at these precepts and you're like, damn. Sometimes they be so small, but they pack a lot of power. So, and Ezra hit me and be like, what's up on this? I said, yeah, man, we do need to go to this place. So, appreciate that, brother, for giving me this alley-oop, man, to do this class. So, John 8, and let's start at 31. We're going to be going back and forth to Romans 6 as well. So John 8 and 31, we'll read down a little bit, and we're going to go to Romans 6 and Romans 8.
Come. This is the book of John. This is the book of St. John, chapter 8, and verse number 31.
Read.
Then said Yahushua to those Jews which believed on him.
Because it was always a remnant that believed, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we get that at. Yeah. I didn't want to go, but Acts 4 and 4. We ain't got to get it. But it was always a remnant that believed, right? And I'm going to read it real quick. Howbeit, many of them which heard the word believed, and the number of the men was about 5,000, right? So we always had a remnant that believed on Christ, right? Now that was a small number, right, compared to the servants of sin, right? But the servants of righteousness, we always had a small number, right? But they were powerful, right? So he said they believed. Many of those Jews which believed on him. Read.
If ye continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed.
Then are ye my disciples indeed. If you do what? Continue in my word. Gotta let the scriptures be true, man. John 7:38, right? Read.
Verse 32. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
And that free is not going into what? Physical free, right? That free is going to spiritual free, right? Right. Mentally, right? It's the mental part that we know what's going on. We know Esau's tricks, right? We know their dirty works and how they play games around, right? So he said, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Not free from bondage, because we know we in servitude to this day, right? According to what? There's Baruch 3, right? So we know that we are in our captivity this day. So we know we can't be talking about a physical bondage, right? But when it's making us free, the truth is going to make you free mentally, right? So always keep that in mindset for the class tonight. It's not free physical. It's free mental. Read.
Come on, verse 33. They answered him, we are Abraham's seed, and were never in bondage to any man. How sayest thou, ye shall be made free?
Now, does that line up with what the scriptures say? Because they answered and said, we be Abraham's seed and we were never in bondage to any man. What captivity is this? Roman captivity, right? We had a lot of captivities before that, right? Yeah. We in captivity right now as they are speaking, right? So are they talking about physical bondage? What are they saying? They saying that, well, we ain't never went off and followed no other doctrine. That's what they saying right here. We ain't never been in bondage to any man. We ain't never followed the ways of the world. We Abraham's seed, right? Remember though, who was Christ always cutting up in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? The scribes and Pharisees. They're supposed to be leaders, right? Christ was giving them more understanding abundantly to give them the knowledge of how to make it to the kingdom. But they sit here saying, nah, we ain't never did no wickedness, right? We ain't never went off and followed man's ways, right? We in bondage and servitude to the Romans, though. So it's not talking about a physical, they're talking about they have not followed any other doctrine, right? Read 33 again.
Verse 33 from the top. They answered him, we be Abraham's seed, and were never in bondage to any man. How sayest thou, ye shall be made free? So
they're saying, how are you saying that we gonna be made free and we keeping the commandments, right? Yeah. We follow our Christ, right? We follow. We Abraham, we follow. That's our father, right? Yeah. How you gonna say that we gonna be made free? We already free. We already keeping the commandments, right? We're already doing right. That's what they think. Read.
Yahushua answered them, verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committed sin is the servant of sin.
Christ told them, but whosoever committed sin, you are the servant of sin, right? You are the servant of sin. So we need to look and see the servant of sin versus the servant of righteousness. So hold your precept right there. Let's go to Romans 6. Servant of sin. He said, whosoever committed sin is the servant of sin. Right? Let's go to Romans 6, and we can start at that. Yeah.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 6, and verse 1.
Before we go there, any brother got an idea of what the servant of sin could also be going into?
Not going against the law of sin and death.
I can't hear you.
Like the law of sin and death.
Yeah, that's right. You put these things together. Because the servant of sin is actually going into the law of sin and death, right? Mm-hmm. Actually going into the sacrificial law as well, right? And we're going to go into that. That's why we're going to Rome. Let's go to Romans 6 and 1. But that's good.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 6 and verse 1.
Bring it out.
What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? God forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein?
How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein, right? Because this is going into what? Changing your ways, right?
Right.
Say, what shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? God forbid, right? Because knowing that Christ was that grace that we received, right? Also, we got to read down to get understanding, but we're going to go back. We'll read.
Verse 3. Know ye not that so many of us were baptized into Yahushua? Salakia. Know ye not that so many of us were baptized into Hamashiach Yahushua, were baptized into his death?
What is baptism? True baptism. Hearing the word, right? Go to Acts 18, drop down to Acts 19, right? 1 through 5 or 6. Though we that were baptized in Christ, we were baptized into his death. Why are we baptized into Christ's death? Right, but then it should show you what? But and also that you need to sacrifice yourself. That you need to die as well, right? That's why we sacrifice into his death. Because it's showing that you need to die and put off that old man as well as Christ did, right? Read on.
Verse 4. Therefore, we are buried with him by baptism into death. That, like as Christ was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life.
And you see, it explains itself right there before, right? Just the way that Christ was risen again, right? It's the same way that we have to try and start all over again, right? This is what Christ is telling the scribes and Pharisees in John, that you think you know what you're doing, right? But you really need to start over again, right? Matthew 18 and 3, it says you come back as children, right? This is what Christ is telling them. If you're going to be sacrificing, if you're going to be baptized into my death, you also need to be baptized in my rising, which means that what you need to be doing the same thing that I did. The same thing that the Father did for me, he can do for you. Great example is who? Our beloved brother Paul, who was a murderer, who was killer of his own people, right? Paul is a great example of how we should have an opportunity to come out of our wickedness and get back into the grace and the glory of the Father, right? So read on.
Verse 5. For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection.
So when we went to judge and they were like, well, we ain't never been in servitude to no man. Christ was like, yeah, right. Y'all following commandments of men right now, right? But y'all need to really kick off that old man and try again. I'm giving y'all the game, but a lot of times with that pride get in the way. The pride get in the way. What that's that Christianity. Just like we tell our brothers and sisters, that pride is in your way. You can't see the trees for the forest, man, being right in your face, man. That Christianity is right in your face. Right. Read on.
Verse 6.
Read 5 again.
Verse 5 from the top. For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death.
And like you said, we've been planted together in the likeness of his death. Because like we said, Romans 8:17, what? We are heirs together, right? Joint heirs together. So we were planted in the same baptism of resurrection for Christ, meaning we need to resurrect our own lives, right? Read on.
For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection.
So we need to try to come out of these old ways and come into the new creature, or come into that servant of righteousness and come out of that servant of sin, right? Read on.
Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him.
Our old man needs to be crucified with Christ, right? That's what it's supposed to be. That old man or that old woman need to be crucified with Christ. Read.
That the body of sin might be destroyed. That henceforth we should not serve sin.
So you see, the servant of sin is that doesn't reform himself, right? That doesn't conform to the commandments. Matter of fact, let's get there right quick. Romans 12. Oh, you appreciate it. So that servant of sin, you think that servant of sin, I'm doing now, but you just haven't changed your ways yet. You just ain't came into who the Father wants you to be. If you don't change your ways and kill that old man and old woman out and come back into what true baptism, which is what identifying as an Israelite, right? Keeping high holy days instead of Easter, right? Christmas, right? Rehearsals of righteous acts. And it's all for naught. That's what Christ is trying to tell him in John 8. Read Romans 12.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 12, and verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God.
Man, that's key. Holy and acceptable to God, man. Are you being a living sacrifice? You think you did something? You know, we be on the phone, girl, you know, I changed. I sure did, girl. I used to do this, do that. Is it to you? Or is it to the Father? Because to you, you might think you're doing good, but the Father looking at you like, you Negroes and shit. You ain't doing nothing. Right? Yeah. That's just like the church of Laodicea, like we read in Revelation. He said, well, I know your works. You think that your works is all good, but you got a whole lot of work to do, man, because it need to be acceptable to me, not to you. Ehud don't need to please Ehud. He needs to please the Father. Mama don't need to please Mama. She needs to please the Father. So our actions need to line up and be acceptable to God, man. Not Capt Maccabees, not Capt Benaniyah, not Capt Jerubbaal, not Office of Bergen, but to the Father, man. And we got to remember these things. Read.
I'm going to read 12 from the top.
Go ahead.
I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service.
That's your reasonable duty, man. Like we read. That's your reasonable duty because what Christ did the same thing. And if we go be baptized into his death, well, then we need to be baptized into the resurrection again, right? The same way. Read.
Verse 2. And be not conformed to this world.
And this is the key. This is how you come out of being that servant of sin and come into being that servant of righteousness. Not staying conformed to this world. John 8, the scribes and Pharisees thought that they were doing right, but they were still being conformed to the Roman doctrine, right? To their ways, their laws. So it said, don't be conformed to this world, but what?
But be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
But change. And change where? Is it a physical state? Because if you change mentally, your physical state go change along with you, right? Mental is what the Father wants us to change. Because if we change mentally, our actions will go line up and we're going to show our mental state change as well, right? Because we're not going to be in the same spot that we used to be in, right? Our dress code not going to be the same as it used to be, right? Our actions of who we are and how we pertain to how we carry ourselves is not going to look the same, right? But he said you need to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, you know.
That ye may prove what is good, Salaki. That ye may prove what is that good.
Which is what?
And acceptable.
Which is the law, right? That's good, right? Read on. And acceptable. Read on.
And perfect will of God.
Will of God. Come on. What's the will of God? Psalm 48. That's right. I'll pray. Let's go back to John. Not John. Let's go back to Romans.
Chapter 6.
Yeah.
Go to verse 6. Or verse 5.
I need a book more while I'm talking, man. Book one. Yeah, let's go to 6.
Come on. This is the book of Saint. This is the book of Romans, chapter 6, and verse number 6.
Bring it out.
Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin.
So we need to destroy that servant of sin, right? So that we won't serve sin. Me too. I know. Like, man, I need some. Read 6 one more time while I get this out.
Okay, come on. Verse 6. Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him.
So we need to be dying daily, like Paul said, right? That old man needs to be crucified. And this is a daily, right? Because we read in Deuteronomy and in Joshua, he said you need to choose what? This day. That's every day. Right. So every day you have an obligation to the Father, and that's to be a servant of sin. Right. I mean, a servant of righteousness, like a family, and not a servant of sin, right? Read on.
That the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin.
Read.
For he that is dead is freed from sin.
He that is dead is freed from sin, right? How are you free from sin? By being dead.
By keeping the commandments.
Knocking out that old man, simply, right? Like I said, everything is right here in your face. It's not, like I said, it's an open book test. Like the Father don't make it too hard. He said in John 5:3 that what? My commandments are not grievous. So this stuff is not hard for us. We make it hard ourselves, right? Read on.
Verse 8. Now, if we be dead with Christ, we believe that we shall also live with him.
If we be dead in Christ, we believe that we also shall live with him, right? So how we gonna live with Christ and we still got them old filthy rags on, right? How we gonna live with Christ and we still wretched, man? Huh? And the Father and the Father took him and changed him, right? Now it's an example for us to show that we gotta change, right? Read.
Verse 9. Knowing that Christ being raised from the dead dieth no more.
Read that again.
Knowing that Christ being raised from the dead dieth no more. Death have no more dominion over him.
And what can you put with that? Christ being raised from the dead died no more. Death don't have dominion. What will come to your mind?
I don't think that's that first Corinthians 15:56.
The sting of death. The law is the strength. But what are we trying to escape?
Second death.
The second death. All praise. Let's go to Revelation. Revelation 2:11. All praise. That's right. Said, knowing that Christ being raised from the dead dieth no more. Right? Because now we know that filthy body, it has to die, right? That flesh, it has to die. That's the first death. But we trying to knock out going into that second death, right? Read this.
Revelation 2:8, right?
2:11. Go for life.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 2, and verse 11. He that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit said unto the churches. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death.
So he that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. He that overcomes that servant of sin and overcomes and becomes that servant of righteousness, he won't touch that second death, right? That's what it's a problem. That's where it is. Christians, that's the thing with the world and Christians that we talk to. Because what is sin?
Transgression of the law.
Right? Let's get that right quick. Go to Romans. Well, we already there. Well, I want Romans. I want the what the sin leads to.
Okay.
Because sin leads to what?
Yeah.
Right? But everybody will tell you, well, let's just read it and we'll talk with you.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 6, and verse number 23. For the wages of sin is death.
Is what?
Is death.
Read on.
But the gift of God is eternal life through Hamashiach Yahushua, our Lord.
So we would tell people and read this, and guess what? When people say what? We all gonna die, man. Yeah, you sin too, you gonna die, right? Yeah, sin is death, right? You sin, we all sin, right? What they don't understand is, what they don't get is the second death.
Right.
Not the first death, but we all go past through that, but the second death is the problem. Because even in this scripture, it shows you. Read that again.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 6, and verse 23. For the wages of sin is death.
The wages of sin is death, but then what it say? But that's the key. But read on.
But the gift of God is eternal life.
So if we all go and see that death, then why did he say but? The gift of God is eternal. Because we're not talking about the first death. We're talking about being resurrected and not seeing that lake of fire, right? The second death. Let's go to Matthew right quick. Hold your priest up. I don't want out place. Matthew 10 right quick. 10 and 28.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 10, and verse number 28. And fear not them which kill the body.
So, like you said, they think that, oh, we talking about death, and we talk about sin equates to death. They think that we talking about the body, right? The flesh. But the Father said, don't fear him which is able to kill the body. Read on.
But are not able to kill the soul.
But they can't kill the soul, right? This is not what we're talking about. We're not talking about the first death.
That's right.
What is the Father talking about?
But rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell.
But we talking about the second death, right? Not the first death. No, we're not talking about the first death. We all gonna touch that. We talking about when you go and get what? Judgment, man. When you meet the Father on judgment day and he opened the books and he opened your life, the book of life, and he opened up the book of the law, right? And rotate them together, see what you did. So a lot of people get that confused or construed by, oh, we all gonna die. Yeah, but nigga, I ain't trying to get that second.
That's right.
Right? It's two of them. And then we don't want the second one. So let's go back to Romans 6 and 9. And now you get a better understanding of what 6 and 9 is saying now, right?
This is the book of Romans, chapter 6 and verse 9. Knowing that Christ, being raised from the dead, dieth no more.
Read on.
Death have no more dominion over him.
So if we become servants of righteousness and kick out that servant of sin, death doesn't have dominion over us anymore. That second death doesn't have dominion. Now we winning, right? Now we in a good standings with the Father, right? Read on.
Verse 10. For in that he died. He died unto sin once.
And then the scriptures clear it up, right? The scriptures, man, they talk, man. I love the scriptures, man, because they going to back you up just like that, man. They said, for in that he died unto sin what? Once. Read.
But in that he liveth. He liveth unto God.
And it's clearing it up. You are dying to sin once, right? Christ don't have the meaning of that second death, right? It didn't have the meaning over him. And this is the same way that we got to look at this thing. If we become servants of righteousness, then we don't have that dominion of sin over us. Now, what we die of sin once, but now not twice, right? Right. Read on.
Verse 11. Likewise, reckon ye also yourselves to be dead indeed unto sin.
And that's why I said you got to be, and it said likewise. That's a key word. Likewise. So just like Christ is our example of what? Dying and resurrecting itself is the same way Israel has to be with dying of your old flesh and old soul and becoming into that new woman and that new man that the Father wants you to be. Read.
But alive unto God through Hamashiach Yahushua our Lord.
Read on.
Verse 12. Let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body, that ye should obey it in the lust thereof.
And that's what he giving you the games. He said, don't let sin stay within you, right? You don't need to have sin around you too much, right? That's why Romans 16 and 17 say, well, you need to avoid certain people. They're not good for you. You don't need to let them be in your body because it ain't good for your spirit, right? It said, let not sin reign in your mortal body, right? Don't keep doing the wrong things or that sin is going to always be there. Those old ways going to keep creeping up, knocking on your doorstep, right? Read.
Neither yield ye your members as in instruments of unrighteousness unto sin, but yield yourselves unto God as those that are alive from the dead.
He said, but yield yourselves to those and to God like those that are alive from the dead. We need to have a new act. We need to have a new walk, a new attitude, right? We need to have a new look, man. Right? Read on.
And your members as instruments of righteousness unto God.
And let's touch on that first part. Neither yield your members as instruments of to unrighteousness. Go to Colossians 3 and 5. It said, don't yield your members to instruments of unrighteousness. What is that saying? Kick those bad habits, right? Kick those habits that's not going to prosper you to get into the kingdom. Read.
This is the book of Colossians chapter 3 and verse 5.
Read.
Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth. Mortify
means to cut off. He's not literally saying mortify your arm and your leg, right? Read on.
Fornication.
These are the things that you need to cut off, that you don't need to reign in your body, right? Fornication needs to get up off you, right? Read on.
uncleanness,
right?
inordinate affection,
And inordinate affection, man. Going into all these different affections that brothers have in these days with brothers, sisters with sisters, right? Read on.
evil concupiscence,
Read on.
and covetousness.
And want what everybody else got, man. Be happy and content with what you got, right? Be happy with your lot, right? If your lot is one car and a one-bedroom shack with one child, and that's your lot. If your lot is 3 acres with 3 houses, 3 cars and a 2-car garage and no children, then be happy with your lot. That's your lot, right? Read on.
Which is idolatry.
These are the things that we need to cut off. This is what we need to mortify, right? Read on.
For which things sake, for which things sake the wrath of God coming on the children of disobedience.
And the Father lets you know, because if you keep into these things, the wrath of God coming to you, and you are what? A child of what? Disobedience. Or what? A servant of what? Sin. Right? Let's go back to Romans 13. Neither yield of your members of instruments of unrighteousness is a sin. Read that.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 6 and verse 13. Neither yield ye your members as instruments of unrighteousness unto sin, but yield yourselves unto God as those that are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness unto God.
So what are some of the members of instruments that are righteous to God? Right? I wanted to hear that one too, because we go in Ephesians 6 and 11, but I wanted to hear the fruits of the Spirit as well. Right? Galatians 5 and 22. These are some of the members that put you in righteousness, right? Instruments of righteousness. The fruits of the Spirit, right? Galatians 5 and 22. But also what? Putting on your armor. Ephesians 6 and 11. Let's go there right quick.
This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 6 and verse 11. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
So he said, put on the whole armor of God, not half, not partial, the whole armor. That means you need to armor yourself with righteous acts, right? And not unrighteous acts, or righteous brothers and sisters and not unrighteous brothers and sisters, right? Jump down to 14.
Verse 14, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth.
So you need to have your loins girt about with truth. What is truth? The law, right? So that's an instrument that we need to have. Truth, right? The law. And you say, girt your loins with that truth. Read on.
And having on the breastplate of righteousness.
And having on the breastplate of righteousness. What is righteousness? Which is what? The law. Because like I brought out in 15 and 56, what is that going to do? The law is our strength. So your instrument that you need to put on is strictly going into the what? The law. Right? Read on.
Verse 15. And your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace.
Of the gospel of peace. And we know what the gospel is, right? The good news, right? The only way we tell them good news is by keeping the laws and knowing what the laws will bring us, which is the good news, that we can have salvation, right? Luke 4, right? Is that Luke 4 and 17, 18?
What's that? Luke. Gospel.
No, the gospel.
Isaiah 61.
It is Isaiah 61. It's Isaiah 61 and 1 and Luke 4 and 17 and 18.
Luke 4, 17, 18.
Yeah, I just go to Luke first. So like I said, because it tell you go to Isaiah.
Yeah, Luke 4 and 19.
Right. So we see that. So it said, and your feet shod with preparation of the gospel of peace. We know the gospel is what? The good news. The good news is only for those who are what? Coming back into who they are. Becoming a servant of righteousness and not being a servant of sin, right? So we see what we have to gird ourselves with in order to prepare ourselves to be servants of righteousness and not be servants of sin, right? Let's go back to Romans 6 and 14.
God, this is the book of Romans, chapter 6 and verse number 14.
Read out.
For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace.
And that's what Christians don't have understanding, right? We are not under the law, but under grace. What law are we not under? That's why we say the servant of sin goes hand in hand with the sacrificial law as well as the law of sin of death, right? Because you are not under the law but under grace. And we see that 61 says, shall we continue in sin because we are under grace? God forbid, no. So the scriptures can't confound each other, right?
Right.
But you're not under the law but under grace. What is some of the things to show and to prove how what we were, we are not now, how we were under the law of sin and death, and we are no longer under?
These homos walk around and they did.
Exactly. Let's go there. Let's go to Leviticus right quick. Because now we have an opportunity of the grace to come, and guess what? Things that we used to get put to death for immediately, we don't get put to death for them anymore, right?
Adultery.
Exactly. Adultery is real. 20 and 13.
20 and 13. This is book of Leviticus, chapter 20 and verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
If a man also lie with mankind as he lied with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They should surely be put to death.
And it say they shall surely be put to death, right? So some things were not treatable for sacrificial law, right? Because the way that we atone for sins back then were what? Sacrifices, right? So also going into the servant of sin is what? Because when we were sacrificing, was that really helping us?
No.
We were still servants of sin, right?
Yep.
Because all we would do is say, well, like I always say, nigga, don't touch this turtle dove right here. I'm gonna go cheat, adulterer. I'm gonna go be an adulterer tonight, and I'm coming right back to sacrifice this damn turtle dove, right?
Yep.
We were still servants of sin at that time, right?
Right.
That's why the Father had to be that ultimate sacrifice, so be that grace to us, right? Just like Deuteronomy 25. Is that 22 and 25? Just to show another point. Now let's do 22 and 22.
Okay, come. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22 and verse 22.
Read.
If a man be found lying with a woman married to a husband,
So if you sleeping with a woman that was already married, right, had a husband, read on.
then they should both of them die.
Then they both of them will put to death, right? Immediately, right? Just to show you that some sins were not atonable. You couldn't atone for some sins, right? Read.
Both the man that lay with both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. So shall thou put away evil from Israel.
But today we see that that was happening in the church for sure. Yeah. Right? So we're not under law, but under grace. I mean, we're not under the sacrificial law anymore, and we don't atone for sins with sacrifices anymore, right? Because that's a part of being a servant of sin is going into, man. This is what Christ is trying to tell the Pharisees and John, right? And the scribes. And guess what? They talking about we servants of Abraham, we children of Abraham. Yeah, but you Negroes wicked, man. Right? That's why he had to do away with that sacrificial law. Let's go to Hebrews right quick and get that, and then we'll get back to Hebrews 10. Mm-hmm. I know you. We read it, we gotta tell you. Hebrews 10. We'll read one.
Come. This book of Hebrews, chapter 10, and verse number 1.
Bring it out.
For the law having a shadow of good things to come.
The law, what? Of sacrifice having a shadow of good things to come, right? Read on.
And not the very image of the things, can never, with those sacrifices which they offer year by year, continually make the corners thereunto perfect.
It said those sacrifices that we used to sacrifice year by year, right? Those sacrifices, they won't help anymore, right? Can never. It said they can never, right? Drop down to 4.
Verse 4.
Well, we just read.
Yeah. Verse 2. All right, come. Verse 2. For then would they not have ceased to be offered, because the worshipers once purged should have had no more conscience of sin.
And you see, that's why.
Right.
Because it wasn't taking away your conscience to not sin anymore. You were looking up to that sacrifice to get you out and not your works, right?
Right.
Your conscience was not relying on you changing. That's why the law of sacrifice had to be done away with. Because now we putting checks and balances on these Negroes. That's what they can't stand, right? We putting checks and balances on our own selves, right? Looking ourselves in the mirror now, right? Read on.
Verse 3. But in those sacrifices, there is a remembrance again made of sins every year.
But in those sacrifices, knowing that this is going into the sacrificial law, right? This is what Christians gotta, and I don't see how they don't read this and see it.
Right.
Right? Because they love to be New Testamenters. Right? And this is New Testament, right? Read.
For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins.
It's not possible anymore that the blood take away sins, right? Because that's keeping you a servant of sin. Read on.
Right. Verse 5. Wherefore, when he cometh into the world, he said, sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not.
Thou wouldest not, but what?
But a body hast thou prepared me.
But a body, Christ was that what? That ultimate sacrifice, right? The ultimate lamb. Sacrifices ain't gonna work no more, but a body was prepared for us for our atonement, right? And now we don't have now instead of atoning animals and ghosts, we're atoning what now? Ourselves. Right? Going back into what? Going back into Rome where we just read our prayer, right? So you see, the servant of sin is also going into what? The law of sin and death and the sacrificial law, right? Because now you wanna live your life according to the law and not hold on to certain things or have that conscience or don't have that conscience of trying to live right or do better, right?
Can I bring out one precept? Let me bring out one precept. Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 11. Let's just show, man, the Lord been felt like this about us sacrificing. Just like I say, man, we know we're gonna go do wickedly. We got turtle doves and bullocks lined up in the damn back, man. All right, I'm gonna just read. Okay.
Look at Isaiah chapter 1 verse 11. To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me?
The Lord said, what purpose is this multitude of sacrifices? It goes to not having a conscience of us doing the things that we do, man. All right, read.
Said the Lord, I am full of the burnt offerings of rams.
And the Lord said, I'm full, man. I done had enough, man. All right, read.
And the fat of fed beasts, right? And I delight not in the blood of bullocks.
Hey, man, the Lord, and that's like this is way back in Assyria going to the Babylonian captivity, man. Like the Lord been felt like it, man. Israel, as always, just was going out, man. All right.
Blood of bullocks or of lambs or of he goats.
Right. So that's just another precept. Another precept is Amos. We ain't going there, but Amos chapter 5 verse 21. That's
exactly. I hate
your sacrifice and your beast, or you know. Or so what? Paraphrase. All right. Well, Hebrews 10.
Yeah. So now we're going back to
Romans.
Now we done with Romans right now. We're gonna go back and touch Romans 6, but we wanted to show that Romans 6 and 14, right? Not under the law of what sacrifice, right? Sin and death. Just to correlate that the servant of sin is also going into that of the sacrificial law and the sin of death, right? Because you didn't change. Sacrificing didn't change you. It was just an atonement. That's the key word. It was just an atonement, but it didn't change you, right? But now the Father said, you need to change from being that servant of sin now and become that servant of righteousness. Let's go back to John chapter 8. And we start at 34.
Ready?
Yeah.
This is the book of St. John, chapter 8, and verse number 34.
Bring it out.
Yahweh shall answer them. Verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committed sin is the servant of sin.
Said, whosoever committed sin is the servant of sin, right? You are that servant of sin. Because, and this is how you know that it's going into the sacrificial law and the law of sin and death, right? Because we know that we sin each and every day, right? We fall short of the glory each and every day, right? We are just men and just women. So going into the servant of sin, also going into what the law of sin and death or sacrifices, right? But let's go to Romans 8. Oh, you preach, let's go back to Romans 8. Eight and 6.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 8, and verse number 6. For to be carnally minded is death.
Read that again.
For to be carnally minded is death.
And that's what it's saying, right? When he said that, he said what? And the servant of whosoever committed sin is the servant of sin. He's saying don't be carnal minded to this, right? Not speaking on you that's trying to that are just men. Don't be carnal minded to it. Read again.
Verse 6 from the top. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace.
Don't look at this in carnality. Look at it in spiritual form, right? You are a servant of sin by what? Continuing in your old ways, right? The law of sacrifice, the law of sin and death, right? That's why we put them together, right? He said, don't look at this carnally. Look at it spiritual, right? And that's what we've been doing. Go back to John 8 and 35.
It's the book of St. John, chapter 8, and verse number 35.
Mm-hmm.
And the servant abideth not in the house forever, but the Son abideth ever.
So you see, they said the servant don't abide forever, but the Son abideth forever, right? The servant won't abide until these sacrifices forever, right? But the Son will, because he was that ultimate sacrifice for us, right? Read that.
If the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed.
Read that again.
If the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed.
So like I said, you should be free indeed. Your mind. If the Son don't change your mindset of how he died for us, how we were what? Baptized into his death and into his resurrection. If that don't make you free, right? Then we don't have no understanding. Read that again.
Verse 36 from the top. If the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed.
So if you come back into what being that servant of righteousness, changing your ways, killing up that old man, then yes, you will be free indeed, right? Remember, we talking about spiritual mind, right? Not talking about physical bondage. Read.
Come, verse number 38.
37.
37, Salakia.
Mm-hmm.
I know that ye are Abraham's seed, but ye seek to kill me, because my word have no place in you.
He said, I know you Abraham's seed, because remember what they said, we Abraham's children, right? We ain't never been bonded in the man. He said, I know you Abraham's seed. I know that. You don't think I know that? But y'all trying to kill me. What I can't say, y'all trying to kill me, man. They trying to kill me, right? How y'all gonna try to kill me for telling y'all the truth, man? For giving y'all new wisdom or new understanding on how you should live your life, right? That's what he's telling them. Yeah, y'all say y'all Abraham's seed, but what would they be doing if they were Abraham's seed?
Keeping the commandments.
What's the precept? Acts 7:51. What's another precept that Abraham was that we see that Abraham was keeping the law? We all want to go to the Apocrypha. I want to go to the Old Testament. I know. That's what I'm saying. Brothers should have these precepts.
Is it Deuteronomy 10:16?
Let's go to Sirach. Let's go to Sirach 44. He said, I know y'all Abraham seed. But if you was Abraham seed, he ain't gonna explain it down, right? Matter of fact, before we go there, y'all keep the Sirach 44. Right, but keep that, but we're going to go back to John right quick. We're going to read down before we hit. But keep that, we're going to go to read 37 again.
This is the book of St. John, chapter 8, verse 37.
Mm-hmm.
I know that ye are Abraham's seed, but ye seek to kill me because my word have no place in you.
He said, but you seek to kill me because my word don't have no, I'm trying to give y'all understanding, but y'all don't want to receive the understanding, right? But y'all seek to kill me, right? Read on.
I speak that which I have seen with my father, and ye do that which ye have seen with your father.
He said, I speak what I've seen, right? You do what you've seen with your father, right? Christ cut them up. I speak that which I have seen with my father, and you do that which you have seen with your father, right? What's the precept of that? We're in the same book.
John chapter verse 40. Or
Father of the devil.
Yeah,
your father, yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
It's verse 44, right?
Oh, it's right there.
He just keep going down, but like you said, Christ is gonna keep cutting them up.
Yeah.
Right, giving you more and more understanding on that. But read 38 again.
Verse 38. I speak that which I have seen with my father, and ye do that which ye have seen with your father.
Read on.
They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father.
But you see him? They got that pride on. Man, Abraham, my father. Right, read on.
Yahushua said unto them, if you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham.
If you was really of Abraham, you would do the works. You would not be a servant of sin, but a servant of righteousness, right? Now let's go to that Sirach 44 and 19.
Okay. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 44, and verse number 19.
Bring it out.
Abraham was a great father of many people. In glory was there none like unto him.
Right.
Who kept thy law of the Most High.
Who did what?
Who kept the law of the Most High.
He said if you was Abraham's sons and children, you would do the works, which is what? Keeping the damn law, man. And not trying to sit up here and kill me, man, right? Read.
And was in covenant with him. He established a covenant in his flesh. And when he was proved, he was found faithful.
He was found faithful. Genesis 26 and 5.
Yeah, I was just going to go there.
Yeah. Genesis 26 and 5.
26 and 5.
Yes, sir. We ain't going up there. If you was Abraham's children, you would do the works. You would keep the law. Read it.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 26 and verse 5. Because thou art Abraham's, because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge.
Abraham obeyed and kept his charge, right? Read on.
My commandments, my statutes, and my laws.
So basically, like we said, Christ cut them up. If you were of Abraham's seed and you were the children of Abraham, you would keep my law, basically, right? But he said that what? You doing, I do what I seen of the Father, you do what you seen of your father. Because whether they know it or not, who was their father? The devil. Let's read let's read John 8 and 44 right quick.
This is the book of St. John, chapter 8, and verse number 44. Ye are of your father the devil,
Read on.
and the lust of your father ye will do.
And like we said, we cut up the heathen with this, but we also cut up our own people, right? Because Christ cutting them up. He cutting up. These are our own people Christ cutting up when he's saying this. Right. He's talking about these scribes and Pharisees. Your father is the devil because you don't want to adhere to good words, to good works, right? Read.
He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth.
Read on. He didn't want to keep them laws. Read on.
Because there is no truth in him.
Because he don't got them laws on him. Read.
When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. For he is a liar and the father of it.
So like we said, we cut up the heathen as well as our own people, right? Because a lot of people, they straight liars too. And that's what they're the father of it. You got both sides of the Bible for that thing, right? Go back to John. Read.
37.
We can go down. We just read. We just read 39. Yeah, let's read 40.
This is the book of St. John, chapter 8, and verse 40. But now ye seek to kill me, a man that have told you the truth.
The man that told you a lie.
The man that have told you the truth.
Come on, man. You seeking to kill the Christ that has told you nothing but the truth, man. That brought you the law. That is the law. That is the truth, right?
Also, about your enemy,
Boy, you know we finna go there. But that's what our people do, right? Let's go there. Amos 5 and 10. And we're gonna go to Galatians 4 and 16. We're gonna get both of them.
Proverbs 13. There's a whole bunch of them.
Street precept they're doing right now with these.
It's the book of Amos, chapter 5, and verse 10.
Bring it out.
They hate him that rebuketh in the gate.
So this is why they wasn't dealing with Christ, man, right? Because they hate him that rebuketh in the gate. We hate to be corrected as a nation of people, man. We hate correction. That's a damn shame, man, that the King of Kings trying to give you more understanding of how you should live your life. And instead of you abiding to it or adhering to it, you hate him. Because he's telling you the truth. Read.
And they abhor him that speaketh uprightly.
And they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. That's what we tell them brothers out there on the streets, man. Right? Y'all hate us because we telling y'all the truth, because we bringing judgment on y'all.
That's right.
We not judging y'all, but we giving y'all judgment of the Father, what he gonna do to you, right?
Right.
We rebuking you, right? We telling you, brother, that's wrong.
That's right.
Sister, that's wrong, right? Same thing Christ doing. Hey, man, you wrong. You're a servant of sin right now, right? Galatians 4:16. I saw you in your class, like, boy, you ain't lying. You gotta be delicate with these pages.
I know, man.
I turn one more of these pages.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to get my new Bible right, man. This is the book of Galatians, chapter 4, and verse number 16.
Bring it out.
I am Slakin. Am I therefore become your enemy?
That's a question. Have I become your enemy because I what?
Because I tell you the truth.
Because I tell you the truth. If you was out here lying to Negroes, boy, they would not hate you.
That's right.
They would love you. That's my boy. He gonna hype me up. Yeah, go out there and fight that dude, man. This dude, the MMA fighter. I'm gonna tell you now, bro. This dude gonna kick your ass, bro. No, I know this dude, bro. This dude
put you in the hospital.
He go, hey, man, don't do it. You hype your brother up and tell him, yeah, man, you got it, man. We got your back, right? Kind of like on the wood when Mike went out there. He was like, well, we got your back. Mike got his butt whooped by himself, though, right? They didn't want no smoke. You want a Negro to tell you a lie rather than tell you the truth? Have I become your enemy? This is what they did. Christ became their enemy because they trying to tell them the truth, right? Let's go back. Good precept. Good job.
What? I was pretty good.
Back to John 8:41.
This is the book of St. John, chapter 8, and verse 41. Ye do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, we be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even God.
He said, we wasn't born of fornication, right? They thinking that they got one Father. Christ is trying to explain to them that you are servants of sin, right? You have way more than one Father. Every one of these actions that you are taking on of this Roman captivity is your Father, right? Read on.
Verse 42. Yahweh said unto them, if God were your Father, ye would love me.
Read that again.
If God were your Father, ye would love me.
But he said, if God was your father, y'all keep trying to tell me and prove to me that you are sons and children of Abraham, that you only have one God. But if God was your father, you would what?
If God were your Father, you would love me.
If God were your father, you would keep the damn commandments of what I'm telling you. Keep
That's
the
right.
charge, right?
That's right.
Let's go to John 13.
Right.
The 3.
This is the book of St. John, chapter 13, and verse 3. Yahweh knowing that the Father had given all things unto his hand.
So Christ cutting him up because Christ let him know the Father that gave me everything, man. I know what you Negroes are going into. I know. Remember, the first precept we pulled was what? Y'all heard me. Revelation, right? 3. And what did he tell the church of Laodicea?
You know they work.
I know your works. Christ is telling them, man, the Father gave me the rundown on you Negroes. I know it. Oh, praise God, praise God. The Father gave me the rundown. Christ telling them right now, the Father had given all things into my hand. So as much as y'all trying to tell me that y'all got one God, that y'all got one Father, that y'all children of Abraham, I know better. Because the Father has gave me, because Christ is the master teacher, right? Read that again.
The book of St. John, chapter 13, and verse 3. Yahweh knowing that the Father had given all things into his hand, and that he was come from God.
And did what?
And went to God.
He come from God and went to God. When he had understanding that he had to get, who did he go to? God. You Negroes ain't come on, man. And then listen, when we tell these Negroes out here, you is not Christ, stop playing. Ain't none of these Negroes they trying to put on the Messiah. He's not the Messiah. Like we told one dude, he had one arm, talking about he the Messiah. Brother, please, the Messiah will not be with one arm. I know damn well Christ ain't gonna be with one arm coming back, man. Tread that wine press along. I know damn well he ain't gonna have one arm, right? Shit, come on, stop playing, man. Scripture say otherwise, bro. Stop it. For real, man. Go back to John.
They got what how he gonna heal the buddy arm when he told him to put his arm out.
Come on, man. I'm just saying the scriptures upon brothers be tripping, man. But we here to put fire on the brothers to what? Get this thing right. Which servant are ye, man? Servant of sin or righteous? Read on.
This is the book of St. John, chapter 8, and verse 42. Yahweh said unto them, if God were your Father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from God.
Like you said, when the Father showed me everything, I went to God. When it was time to go to God, I did, right? I came from God. Read on.
Neither came I of myself, but he sent me.
But of him that sent me, I didn't come with my own will. I'm telling y'all, bro, look, man. I'm not telling y'all, I'll tell everybody, it's not me. It's not me. It's my Father. It's him. I'm just we just serving. We always say what? Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just the messenger, right? Don't shoot me. If you really mad, you mad at the Father, right? Read on.
Why do ye not understand my speech?
Damn, why y'all don't understand what I'm saying, man? Why brothers and sisters don't understand what we're trying to bring them and the opportunity that we have right now, right? Read on.
Even because ye cannot hear my word. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do.
Read on.
He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own.
Read.
For he is a liar, and the father of it.
And the father of it. Read on.
And because I tell you the truth, ye believe me not. Which of you conceiveth me of sin? It's a lie. It's a lie, y'all. Which of you convinceth me of sin? And if I say the truth, why do ye not believe me?
So in 45, like you said, because I tell you the truth, you believe me not. Going into the same thing how we went into Amos 5:10, Galatians 4:16, right? I'm telling you the truth, but you don't believe me. Right? Which of you convincing me of sin? Huh? And if I say the truth, why do you not believe me? Because they don't have the understanding, man. Because they are servants of sin and not servants of righteousness. Read.
He that is of God heareth God's words. Ye therefore hear them not, because ye are not of God.
46.
Verse 46.
Read that again.
Verse 46 from the top. Which of you convinceth me of sin? And if I say the truth, why do ye not believe me?
Why do they not believe us when we tell them the truth?
Because the word not in there.
Huh?
The spirit is not in there.
Yeah, but what else? Why? I like that. Let's go to 1 Timothy.
Verse
4:1. Just like with the world, why our people don't believe us, man, when we tell them the truth? Because of these watered down ass doctrines and religions that they done pushed up on us, man. Because of doctrines of devils.
They got no order in them.
That's right, because they counter knocked out. But he said, why do y'all not hear? Why y'all don't? If I say the truth, why do you not believe me? Because they done pushed these watered down doctrines on our people, man, and indoctrinated us with all kind of winds of doctrine, right? Or like we say, 1 Timothy, doctrines of devils. That's why they don't believe the Father of Christ. 1 Timothy 4:1.
This is the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 4, verse 1. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times shall some like it. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits.
This is why they don't hear, because they departed from the faith. They are giving heed to these seducing spirits. Right? Read on.
Seducing spirits and doctrines of devils.
And doctrines of devils. This is why they don't hear Christ, right? This is why they don't believe, because they have been indoctrinated with doctrines of devils. Read.
Speaking lies.
Speaking what?
Speaking lies.
Because they done got so many lies that now these lies have overturned their thought process, right? Now they think they doing right, like they keep telling them, we cheered on Abraham, right? They think they doing right. We ain't never been in servitude and bond of a man, right? But in reality, they have, but they are having devil's doctrines that are indoctrinating them, right? Read on.
Speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry, and commanding to abstain from meats, which God have created to be received with thanksgiving.
So this is why the world don't receive, right? Don't receive this. That God created to be received with thanksgiving. Read on.
So like you. Receive with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth.
Of them which believe and know the truth, though, right? That means what? The difference between good and evil. Right? That's what we are out here to do. This is what this class is for. To bring good and evil to the nation and show them which one you should choose, right? That's what our jobs are as prophets, y'all. Let's go to Ezekiel. 44. Right quick. That's our job, man. Ezekiel 44 and 22 or 23. Start at 23.
41, 23.
Yeah.
God, this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 44 and verse 23.
Uh-huh.
And they shall teach my people the difference between the holy and the profane.
We need to teach them the what?
And they shall teach my people the difference.
The difference. There is a difference between good and bad. There is a difference between servants of sin and servants of righteousness, right? This is our job, to teach them the difference between the holy and the profane, the clean and the not. This is what Christ was doing. He was showing them and trying to teach them what they should do to live, what, or what they should do to what? Die, basically, right? Keep playing. Read on.
And cause them to discern between the unclean and the clean.
And that's the thing, the spiritual discernment. You need to discern what is clean and unclean, right? Read on.
Come. Verse 24. And in controversy, they shall stand in
You
judgment.
see that? But it was prophesied and know that what? In controversy, we still got to be strong with that thing, stand on one side, right? He said there was going to be controversy. Don't think it's going to be easy, Israel. But in controversy, they shall stand in judgment. Even when Negroes talking about they finna go get their guns, they finna go get their partners, they finna go get the whole clique, the army, right? Even when the so-called white men talk about you going to jail, what? In controversy, we go stand in judgment, right? To let you know what is clean and what is unclean. Are you the servant of sin or righteousness? Read on.
And they shall judge it according to my judgment.
Uh-huh.
And they should keep my laws and my statutes in all my assemblies, and they shall hallow my statutes.
So we got to, and that's the thing, man. This is what Christ is doing. Telling them, man, you got to decide from good and bad. But the doctrines of devils indoctrinated our people, and now they can't decipher that thing. Because they've been spoke so many lies to, and now them lies have become truth to our people, right? And instead of them being servants of righteousness, they are staying in servants of sin, right? Like we said, our people think they're not doing wrong. Some of our people actually think they're on the straight and narrow. That's why we got to put this world back into submission with God's law. Let's get this last little spiel in Romans. Look at the Romans 6. We're reading 15 now. We get out of here. So 6 and 15 down, going to give you a little more understanding of the servant of righteousness, right? We just read all the servants, all of the partakers of that sin, the servants of sin. Start at 15.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 6, and verse number 15.
Mm-hmm.
What then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law,
What law? Right, read on.
but under grace? God forbid.
God said, hell no, stop playing this, read on.
Know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servant to obey his servants, ye are to whom ye obey.
So if you yield yourselves as servants to obey, then you will be servants that obey, right? Read on.
Whether of sin unto death,
Whether you are a servant unto the sin and death law, right? Whether you were servants when you kept the sacrificial law, or read.
or of obedience unto righteousness.
Or the servants right now, right? Which is what? Righteousness is what? Which is keeping the law now, right? So you need to show yourself to be obedient, because we were obedient even in the sacrificial law, right?
Okay.
But now we need to be obedient in the law of what we have to keep now, right? Which is being a living sacrifice for ourselves, right? So if you were those servants that obeyed in the law of sin and death, you need to be that same servant that obeyed in the law of righteousness, which is keeping the law right now, right? Read.
But God be thanked that ye were the servants of sin.
God be thanked that you what?
That ye were.
That you were Gentiles, right?
Right.
God be thanked. That's a cold-blooded scripture, man.
Right.
That's tough. God need to be thanked each and every day. Thank you, Father, that we were servants of sin. Thank you, Father, that we were Gentiles, man, in a Gentile state of mind, right? Read that again, man.
Verse 17. But God be thanked that ye were the servants of sin,
Uh-huh.
but ye have obeyed from the heart from that form of doctrine which was delivered you.
And you see that? He said you were sin, but read that part again. But ye have obeyed.
So like it. Verse 17 from the top. But God be thanked that ye were the servants of sin,
Uh-huh.
but ye have obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine which was delivered you.
Because what was that form of doctrine that we was delivered at first? The sacrificial law, right?
Sure.
But we obeyed that even in this doctrine that we received it by, we obeyed it by that law, right?
Sure.
Because when the parents brought the child to the congregation and he was he was a gluttonous or they couldn't get right, what do? We stoned them, right? We did what the law said we should do on that thing, right? If you were caught in homosexual activities, well, the law sent a devil that you what? Be put to death. So as we obeyed in that, as we were obedient in that, now we need to be obedient in righteousness, which is keeping the commandments. Read that again. That's heavy.
Verse 17. But God be thanked that ye were the servants of sin, but ye have obeyed. You have obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine.
That form of doctrine, that law of sacrifice, right? Or that law of sin and death, read,
which was delivered you,
and that was given to you, right? So this and it's not saying that we were wrong for keeping the sacrificial law, right? But it's just saying that's what the Father gave you, and that's what you obeyed by. Now He took that sacrificial law away, and now you need to obey by fulfilling the law of what? Transforming your mind and not changing, right? Not being a servant of sin, or not keep hanging on to sins and want to go atone for one because you're doing dirt and then go atone, right? That's basically what he's saying. That's a great precept too. Right. That he gave that form of doctrine, right? Because even though that's was that good doctrine?
It was, but the sacrificial law.
Yeah.
It didn't take away anything, so I wouldn't say it was a good.
But who gave it to him?
But for his time,
who gave it to him?
for his time, it was good.
Well, who gave it to him?
Christ.
So like he's saying,
God through Moses.
so like you're saying, that form of doctrine which was delivered to you, that don't mean it was bad.
Right.
That was just that form of doctrine that you received at first. So it was good for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's even greater because now we dedicating ourselves, right? And not dwelling in sin and just trying to sacrifice like that. Right. Read on.
Verse 18. Being then made free from sin, you became the servants of righteousness.
So you see now, changing, conforming to what? Keeping the laws now, and what? Putting checks and balances on ourselves. Now we became the servants of righteousness, right? Changing, rehearsing them righteous rehearsals, right? Read on.
Verse 19. I speak after the manner of men because of the infirmity of your flesh.
And he said, I speak after the manner of men because of the sin of your flesh, right? Read on.
For as ye have yielded your members servants to uncleanness.
Because we were yielding our members to service of uncleanness by what? Sacrificing, doing evil and just sacrificing, right? Read on.
And to iniquity, unto iniquity.
And that's what it was doing. It was bringing sin to sin, right?
Right.
It wasn't not saying that it wasn't helping, but the Father found a better plan for us, right? Which was that body that was prepared for us, right? Which is that grace now, which is that law to keep, right? Read on.
Even so, now yield your members servants to righteousness unto holiness.
And like we said, you got to yield your members to service of righteousness, like we talked about what? Galatians 5:22, the fruits of the Spirit. Or now you need to yield yourself to what? Ephesians 6:11, right? Putting on the whole armor of God, which is the law. Read on.
For when ye were the servants of sin, you were free from righteousness.
When you were servants of sin, that doctrine that you were seeing, you was free from righteousness, right? Because that's the doctrine that was given to us.
Right.
Meaning that all I had to do was atone for my sin, right? With a sacrifice. So when you were servants of sin, you were free of righteousness. Read.
What fruit had ye then in those things whereof ye are now ashamed?
But now the Bible saying, what fruit was that in that, man? Because now, when you do evil, or you do wicked, or you sin, how you feel? You feel so ashamed.
That's right.
Should.
I'm talking about you should, right?
Yeah.
You feel so ashamed, man. You want to cry. You want to call and talk to brothers. You want to be around sisters, right? And you feel ashamed. That's why the Father had to come and do away with the sacrificial law, right? Read that again.
Verse 21. What fruit had ye then in those things whereof ye are now
So
ashamed.
it wasn't fruit, and because fruit is going into what? Fruit is what? Works. Right? So it said, what fruit did you have in there? Now, in keeping the law and conforming our own lives, now you got fruits to show, right? Because now you got works. You be in that true light right now, right? Read on.
For the end of those things is death.
Read that again.
For the end of those things is death.
For the end of those things is death, man. The end of that dying, what? Dying off that old man or that old woman, right? Change your life. Read on.
But now, being made free from sin and become servants of God, ye have your fruit unto holiness and the end everlasting life.
Read that again.
But now, being made free from sin.
But now we are made free from sin, right? Read on.
And become servants to God.
Because being made free from sin is what? Changing yourself, right? Dying day. That's right. And become servants to God, right? So we need to conform from servants of sin to servants of righteousness, and then come into being servants of the Most High God. And if you are a servant of the Most High God, what does that lead to? Read that.
It's like it. Ye have your fruit unto holiness.
That's right, eternal life. You have your fruit unto holiness, and what?
And the end, everlasting life.
And the end of everlasting life, right? That's the end game if you convert from that servant of sin to that servant of righteousness and to that servant of the Most High God. Our praise to the Most High God for this class, the water, for this opportunity that He gave us. Oh, brothers and sisters, got some edification tonight. Brothers and sisters, share the truth, man. Like we said, you want to make sure you know which servant are you. Are you the servant of sin or are you the servant of righteousness? You're making yourself a servant of the Most High God for eternal life, right? I always say keep the laws of the Most High God. Let's go back to we can go there, you know, it's a lot of that going on. Too much of that, man.
What's that, Leviticus 20 and 13?
Yes, day for day, man. Talking about this is a shame, man. We just always say keep the laws of the Most High God. We give you a law in class, Leviticus 20 and 13.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 20 and verse 13.
Bring it out.
If a man also lie with mankind, as he lied with a woman, both of them,
How many?
both of them
Both of them have what?
have committed an abomination.
Both of them committed an abomination and what?
They should surely be put to death.
And they shall surely be put to death. Not the first death of flesh and sin, of flesh, but what? The second death, man. Right? Of eternal fire, man. Right? Or eternal burn.
Their blood shall be upon them.
And their blood should be upon them, man. So your actions are going to be according to what it's going to be according to what you do, right? So we hope brothers and sisters get some understanding tonight. Like we said, man, thank you for those brothers and sisters that sent money to the GoFundMe or the Cash App. That money has been greatly used. We actually are taking a trip to Memphis this Sabbath. A couple of the brothers are going to Memphis, try to get this Memphis camp jumping, man. So if brothers and sisters are in that area or in Memphis, give us a call. Look on the website. Give us a call. We'll be somewhere on Beale Street.
Somewhere on Beale Street.
Somewhere on Beale Street pushing this truth, man, right? So we thank y'all for that. With that, you got anything else?
No, I got that.
We say shalom.
Shalom, shalom.